Ladies and gentlemen, today, we journey into the depths of a place where even hope struggles to survive. A place where men are confined under extreme conditions, where every moment is a battle for sanity. This is the Black Dolphin Prison, Russia's most notorious maximum security facility. Nestled on the border of Kazakhstan, Black Dolphin holds some of the most dangerous criminals, serial killers, terrorists, and cannibals. It is a fortress of despair where inmates are cut off from the outside world, serving life sentences with no chance of parole. But what makes this prison so feared? What makes it a place where even light itself seems to be a prisoner? Firstly, the conditions in Black Dolphin are some of the harshest in the world. Prisoners live in total isolation, confined to tiny cells with constant surveillance. The guards enforce a brutal routine, ensuring that prisoners never let their guard down. Even when being transferred within the prison, inmates are blindfolded, bent at the waist, and led in a way that keeps them completely disoriented, removing any sense of control. Secondly, the psychological impact of Black Dolphin is immense. Inmates are subjected to continuous scrutiny, prevented from sitting or resting during the day, and given only a few minutes to eat meals. They're kept in a state of near-total deprivation, breaking their spirits over time. Many prisoners say that this is not life, it is merely existence. Thirdly, the prison's design is meant to crush all hope. There is no yard time, no contact with the outside world, and no rehabilitation programs. Once inside Black Dolphin, you're forgotten by society. For the world outside, these men might as well no longer exist. But what does this say about justice? Does extreme punishment truly serve as a deterrent? Or does it simply reinforce a cycle of cruelty? Are places like Black Dolphin necessary to keep society safe, or do they cross a line into something inhumane? These are questions we must ask ourselves. Ultimately, Black Dolphin is more than just a prison. It is a symbol of absolute control, a place where darkness reigns, and where even light seems to be a prisoner. It forces us to confront the reality of human punishment and the limits of justice itself. Black Dolphin is Russia's most notorious prison, housing the most dangerous criminals under extreme conditions. Black Dolphin Prison, officially known as the Penal Colony No. 6, is one of the most feared and secure correctional facilities in the world. Located near the border of Kazakhstan in the Orenburg region of Russia, this maximum security prison is home to the country's most violent and dangerous criminals. Among its inmates are serial killers, rapists, terrorists, cannibals, and mass murderers. Men who have committed the most heinous crimes imaginable. With many prisoners serving multiple life sentences, there is no possibility of release. Once an individual enters Black Dolphin, they never leave. The prison's reputation is built on its extreme security measures and the absolute control it exerts over inmates. Guards are heavily trained to maintain strict discipline, ensuring that prisoners remain in a constant state of submission. There is no chance of escape. Every move is monitored, and the facility operates with military-like precision. Unlike other prisons where inmates might have some semblance of freedom within their cells, Black Dolphin allows no such luxuries. Cells are small, reinforced with thick steel bars, and under 24/7 surveillance. Prisoners are locked away in almost complete isolation, making interaction with others nearly impossible. One of the prison's most infamous aspects is the treatment of prisoners when they are moved from one area to another. Unlike traditional prisons where inmates may walk upright under guard supervision, Black Dolphin employs a method designed to strip inmates of any sense of power or control. When being transferred, prisoners are blindfolded, shackled, and bent over at a 90-degree angle while being held by multiple guards. This posture is intentionally designed to disorient them, preventing them from mapping the facility in their minds or making any attempt at an escape. The disorientation also serves a psychological purpose, reinforcing their helplessness and the reality that they are entirely under the control of the prison staff. Black Dolphin's conditions are so extreme that even some of the world's most hardened criminals have described it as a fate worse than death. There are no privileges, no recreational time, and no meaningful human contact. The prison exists purely to confine and punish, ensuring that those within its walls have no opportunity for rehabilitation or reform. This unrelenting environment has cemented Black Dolphin's reputation as one of the most brutal prisons on the planet, a place where hope fades and survival itself becomes a struggle. Prisoners live in total isolation with 24/7 surveillance, deprived of all comfort and control. Life inside Black Dolphin is defined by a strict regime of isolation, surveillance, and psychological control. Unlike in many other maximum security prisons, where inmates may have limited social interaction or some degree of movement, Black Dolphin's prisoners are subjected to total isolation. They spend their lives confined within small, cold, and barren cells measuring approximately 50 square feet. The walls are reinforced with thick steel bars, and every cell is equipped with multiple layers of security to ensure that no prisoner has even the slightest chance of escaping. Each inmate is under constant watch, monitored by surveillance cameras at all times. There is not a single moment in the day when a prisoner is not being observed. Even inside their cells, inmates have no privacy. Every movement is tracked, and any deviation from the strict routine is immediately noticed by the guards. The prison operates on the philosophy that control must be absolute, leaving no room for disorder or defiance. This extreme surveillance system serves two purposes: to maintain security and to break the prisoner's spirit by ensuring they never feel unobserved or unmonitored. Beyond physical isolation, prisoners are also cut off from any meaningful communication with the outside world. There are no visits from family or friends, no letters, and no phone calls. For many inmates, this complete detachment from society is the most crushing aspect of their punishment. Unlike prisons where inmates may look forward to occasional visits or messages from loved ones, Black Dolphin ensures that its prisoners are completely forgotten. They become ghosts, existing only within the walls of their cells, with no hope of reconnecting with the world beyond. The daily routine is designed to reinforce this sense of powerlessness. Prisoners are not allowed to rest during the day. Lying down on their bunks is strictly prohibited until nighttime. They must remain standing or sitting in a designated position when inside their cells. This rule ensures that inmates are always alert, preventing them from retreating into the comfort of sleep or idleness. The physical toll of this regimen is immense, leaving prisoners perpetually exhausted yet unable to escape their reality. Meals are another demonstration of control. Prisoners are given just enough food to survive, but never enough to find comfort. They eat simple, bland meals, typically a bowl of thin soup and a small piece of bread. The meals are consumed quickly, within minutes, and under strict supervision. There is no choice in what they eat or when they eat, reinforcing the idea that they have no control over even the most basic aspects of their existence. Every detail of life inside Black Dolphin is engineered to strip inmates of their identity and autonomy. There is no personalization of cells, no personal belongings, and no sense of individual space. Everything is uniform, sterile, and devoid of comfort. The prison's philosophy is not just to confine criminals, but to erase any trace of their former selves, reducing them to mere numbers in a system designed to enforce submission. Inmates are transported blindfolded and bent at the waist to ensure total disorientation. One of the most infamous and psychologically devastating aspects of Black Dolphin Prison is the way prisoners are transported within the facility. Unlike in most correctional institutions, where inmates may walk upright under supervision, Black Dolphin enforces a method of movement that is deliberately designed to strip prisoners of any sense of control or orientation. Whenever an inmate is moved, even for something as simple as a security check, medical visit, or transfer between different areas of the prison, they're subjected to a strict and humiliating procedure. First, they are blindfolded to prevent them from seeing their surroundings. This ensures that they cannot mentally map the layout of the prison, making it impossible to memorize routes or even understand where they are at any given time. The blindfold serves as a constant reminder that they are utterly powerless and completely at the mercy of the guards. Next, the prisoners are shackled and bent forward at a 90-degree angle, with their heads pushed downward and their hands locked behind them. This position is extremely uncomfortable, forcing inmates into a posture that is both physically painful and psychologically degrading. Walking in this state makes it difficult for prisoners to balance or move with any sense of stability, reinforcing their helplessness. The guards escort them by holding onto their arms or even their necks, further emphasizing the complete control the prison has over them. This method of transportation serves multiple purposes beyond just security. From a tactical standpoint, it ensures that prisoners are unable to resist or attack the guards. In this bent-over position, they cannot see their surroundings, plan an escape, or even attempt to defend themselves. However, the real impact is psychological. By forcing prisoners into such a submissive and disoriented state, the prison effectively breaks their will. The message is clear. They have no authority over their own bodies, let alone their fate. The disorientation does not end once they reach their destination. Even when inside designated areas, prisoners are never allowed to relax or move freely. They must remain standing or kneeling in submission while awaiting orders. Every movement is dictated by the guards, and any deviation from protocol is met with immediate discipline. Over time, this constant cycle of blindfolded transport and physical subjugation has a profound effect on prisoners. Many inmates describe feeling like they no longer exist as individuals. They become mere objects being moved from place to place, with no control over their actions or even their awareness of their surroundings. This extreme level of psychological manipulation ensures that prisoners remain in a permanent state of compliance and hopelessness, fully aware that they are under the absolute dominion of the prison system. The psychological effects are severe, with prisoners forbidden from sitting or resting during the day. The psychological toll of life inside Black Dolphin Prison is one of its most defining and devastating aspects. While the physical security measures are extreme, the true punishment is psychological, designed to break the minds of the inmates, not just their bodies. One of the strictest and most punishing rules at Black Dolphin is the prohibition against rest during the day. Prisoners are not allowed to sit or lie down in their cells, except at night, when they are permitted to sleep. This rule is rigorously enforced, creating an environment where mental and physical exhaustion becomes a permanent state. The inability to rest throughout the day takes an immense toll on the human body. Standing or sitting in a rigid position for extended periods leads to muscle fatigue, joint pain, and circulation problems. But the physical discomfort is only part of the suffering. The real damage is psychological. The human mind naturally seeks moments of rest and relaxation, but in Black Dolphin, those moments are systematically denied. This leads to chronic stress, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of helplessness. By preventing inmates from ever feeling comfortable, the prison reinforces its philosophy of total control. The lack of rest ensures that prisoners never feel at ease, never have a moment to reflect in peace, and are constantly reminded of their subjugation. Over time, this constant strain leads to severe psychological deterioration. Many prisoners experience insomnia, paranoia, depression, and even hallucinations as their minds struggle to cope with the relentless deprivation. Another aspect of this psychological warfare is the absolute monotony of daily life. Prisoners follow a rigid routine that never changes, making each day indistinguishable from the last. There are no distractions, no entertainment, no stimulation, only an endless cycle of standing, eating, and waiting. The human brain craves variation and mental engagement, but at Black Dolphin, everything is deliberately designed to be repetitive and mind-numbing. This slow erosion of individuality and personal thought reduces prisoners to mere shells of their former selves, existing only within the strict confines of the prison's rules. The long-term psychological effects of this environment are devastating. Many prisoners experience a condition known as learned helplessness, where they become so accustomed to having no control that they stop trying to assert any form of independence or resistance. This state of mind can lead to emotional numbness, where inmates no longer react to their suffering because they have accepted it as an unchangeable reality. Others become prone to severe anxiety and paranoia, constantly fearing punishment for the slightest misstep. By stripping prisoners of the ability to rest, the prison ensures that they are always in a state of mental and physical exhaustion. This prevents them from developing any sense of hope or resistance, making them fully compliant with the system. Over time, they lose their sense of self, becoming mere numbers in a facility where survival is the only goal. There is no rehabilitation, no parole, and no hope. Once inside, prisoners are forgotten by society. Black Dolphin Prison operates on a philosophy of total and irreversible punishment. Unlike other prison systems that aim to rehabilitate criminals and eventually reintegrate them into society, Black Dolphin offers no such opportunities. Once an inmate is sent there, they are effectively erased from the outside world, condemned to a life of strict confinement until death. There are no second chances, no appeals for reduced sentences, and no hope of parole. The prison is designed not just to hold prisoners, but to ensure that they are permanently removed from society, both physically and psychologically. The inmates at Black Dolphin are some of the most dangerous criminals in Russia, including serial killers, cannibals, and terrorists. Because of the severity of their crimes, Russian authorities believe that rehabilitation is neither possible nor necessary. Instead, these prisoners are treated as permanent threats, undeserving of any attempt at reform. In many ways, the prison functions as a human storage facility rather than a correctional institution. Its purpose is not to change behavior, but to contain it indefinitely. One of the most devastating aspects of life in Black Dolphin is the absolute lack of contact with the outside world. Prisoners receive no visits from family or friends, no letters, and no phone calls. There is no way for them to maintain relationships with loved ones, no way to share their thoughts, and no way to know what is happening beyond the prison walls. For all practical purposes, they are as good as dead to the world. Over time, this isolation erodes any sense of identity or connection to reality. The absence of parole means that prisoners have no motivation to improve their behavior or demonstrate remorse. In other prison systems, inmates may earn privileges, reduce sentences, or even parole through good behavior and rehabilitation programs. But in Black Dolphin, none of that matters. Every prisoner is serving life without parole, meaning there is no future to work toward. This creates a psychological environment where hope is non-existent. Many prisoners eventually stop thinking about the outside world altogether, as it becomes too painful to dwell on a reality they will never experience again. The conditions of Black Dolphin reinforce this sense of hopelessness. Prisoners are not allowed personal belongings, photographs, or any items that could serve as a reminder of their past lives. The complete erasure of personal history is part of the prison strategy to break inmates mentally. Without any external stimuli or reminders of who they once were, prisoners lose their sense of self over time. They become mere numbers in a system designed to make them disappear. This extreme approach raises ethical questions about the purpose of incarceration. Is justice served by permanently locking people away in a place where they are denied any opportunity for redemption? Does society benefit from a system that completely removes the possibility of rehabilitation? These questions remain controversial, but one thing is certain. For those inside Black Dolphin, the outside world no longer exists, and neither do they. The prison raises ethical questions about justice, punishment, and whether such extreme measures are truly necessary. Black Dolphin Prison is often described as one of the most extreme penal institutions in the world, a place where punishment is absolute and mercy does not exist. While it is designed to house Russia's most dangerous criminals, serial killers, terrorists, and cannibals, its harsh conditions raise serious ethical questions about the nature of justice, the limits of human punishment, and whether such a system is truly necessary or simply an act of institutionalized cruelty. One of the key debates surrounding Black Dolphin is whether its conditions constitute justice or vengeance. Justice, in its ideal form, is supposed to be about fairness, accountability, and proportional punishment. However, in Black Dolphin, the goal seems to extend beyond mere incarceration. The prison does not just isolate criminals from society, it actively dehumanizes them. Inmates are stripped of their identities, denied all forms of comfort, and subjected to psychological and physical conditions that break them over time. The question arises, is this a necessary measure to keep society safe, or does it cross a moral line into inhumane treatment? Another ethical concern is the complete lack of rehabilitation. Most modern prison systems incorporate some form of rehabilitation, acknowledging that some inmates may change over time and that criminal behavior is often influenced by factors like poverty, mental illness, or lack of education. Black Dolphin, however, offers no opportunities for reform. Inmates are not given therapy, education, or skill development. They have no chance to demonstrate remorse, change their behavior, or contribute positively in any way. This approach suggests that society has entirely abandoned the concept of redemption for these prisoners, raising the question, should punishment be about permanent suffering, or should there always be room for the possibility of change? The absence of parole further complicates the ethical debate. In many countries, even the most violent criminals have a chance at parole if they show good behavior or genuine rehabilitation. But in Black Dolphin, every inmate is serving a life sentence without any possibility of release. This raises the question of whether a prison sentence should be an indefinite punishment or whether there should be mechanisms in place to reassess inmates over time. Are all people beyond redemption? Or does this system simply ensure that once someone is inside, they are forgotten forever? Beyond the treatment of prisoners, there is also the question of psychological impact on the prison staff. Guards at Black Dolphin must enforce a system of absolute control, treating inmates as though they are less than human. Over time, this can desensitize them to suffering, reinforcing a culture where cruelty becomes routine. Is it ethical to expect law enforcement officers to participate in a system that prioritizes punishment over rehabilitation? Does prolonged exposure to such an environment create a cycle of dehumanization that affects both prisoners and those who guard them? There's also the issue of whether such extreme measures serve as a deterrent. Supporters of Black Dolphin argue that its brutal conditions send a clear message. Committing heinous crimes will result in a lifetime of suffering. However, the effectiveness of extreme punishment as a deterrent is widely debated. Studies in many countries suggest that harsher conditions do not necessarily reduce crime rates. Instead, crime is often driven by factors such as economic instability, lack of education, and systemic social issues. If extreme punishment does not prevent crime, then is Black Dolphin serving justice? Or is it merely inflicting suffering for the sake of retribution? Finally, the existence of Black Dolphin forces society to reflect on the nature of punishment itself. What does it say about humanity when a prison is designed to strip away all hope? Is justice about securing safety, or is it about making criminals suffer indefinitely? The debate over Black Dolphin is not just about one prison in Russia. It is a larger discussion about how societies define justice, morality, and the limits of human punishment. Black Dolphin Prison is more than just a facility. It is a symbol of absolute control, where punishment extends far beyond confinement. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Does justice require suffering, or should it allow for redemption? Are such extreme measures truly necessary? Or do they reflect a system more focused on vengeance than rehabilitation? While society must protect itself from dangerous criminals, it must also consider the ethical boundaries of punishment. If a prison is designed not only to imprison the body, but also to crush the spirit, does it serve justice, or does it become something darker? Black Dolphin stands as a stark reminder that in the pursuit of security, we must not lose sight of our own humanity.